this is a very sad anniversary, 2 years since the attack on Israel by Hamas radicals. And I'm very grateful to you, Justine, for going in there and being a true citizen journalist, finding what happened not only over in Israel, but here at home. And the fact that you have Hamas sympathizers in New York City just yesterday saying October 7th was just the first October 7th, calling for free Palestine from the river to the sea. Now, for those who don't understand, what does that mean exactly for Hamas radicals and those who are sympathetic to terrorist organizations like ISIS?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me back. That is a battle cry to exterminate the Jews. From the river to the sea, it means wiping out all the Jews out of Israel. And unfortunately, it's a battle cry that's been regurgitated by a lot of these college students who they think it's like some hip and cool, hippy-dippy phrase. A lot of them don't really understand what it means. If you ask them to find the river or the sea on the map or name what river or sea they're talking about, they wouldn't know. But then on the other hand, their leaders and the people egging it on, they know exactly what it means. It means killing the Jews in the name of justice, of course.
Yeah, it's very disturbing to see all of that, especially on an anniversary that affected Israel, the United States, and a lot of Europe. I mean, this was simply people, young people like us, going to see a concert and then their lives completely changed. Do you have hopes in what has been proposed by President Trump and also Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu? It seems to have really have consensus around the so-called civilized world, even many Arab and so-called moderate Muslim countries coming together to support this peace deal. And we know as of this hour that Hamas is willing to give back now the 48 hostages that remain, whether dead or alive, to these family members who have suffered. You really can't put it into words, the amount of terror that they've undergone on a daily basis with their loved ones gone, missed holidays to missed celebrations, and our prayers are with them at this very dark hour. But there seems to be some continued dialogue on where that dividing line will be, and Hamas doesn't seem too happy that Palestinians will have to be asked at least to move temporarily, maybe back in over time, and that this group of people, this international board that President Trump is willing to sit on and lead, that might not cut it for Hamas, but I don't think they have any other option here.
Hamas will never be happy as long as Jews are alive. And what everyone needs to understand is that we're dealing with a savage terrorist organization. They don't believe in the concept of peace. They don't believe in humanity. And we're working between America and Israel, two countries that believe in the value of life. That's why we're actually giving up we're catering to them a little bit just to try to get our people, our hostages home, because we believe in life more than we believe in war. Hamas, unfortunately, doesn't. And the hostages are the only people. If they don't have the hostages to use as leverage, they know that nothing is going to stop Israel from completely going in and just finishing Hamas, as they rightfully would do. So if they release all the hostages, well, they know it's going to be a lose situation. But what they'll do is they'll keep saying, oh, sure, yeah, we might agree to this. And then a deadline passes. This is what always happens. A deadline passes the day they're supposed to return the remaining hostages. They don't do it. Then another deadline passes that we give them, and then they just start, launching, they just start attacking Israel once again. But only President Trump can and has fostered peace between Israel and surrounding Arab nations. This is what we saw with the Abraham Accords, where even the surrounding Arab nations whom the media expected to side with Hamas, they didn't side with Hamas either, because they know the so-called Palestinians who have come into their countries, they've attacked them too. They've tried to take it over violently as well. And this is what the legacy media will not cover, because they paint everyone together. They assume that if you're Arab or if you're even Muslim, that you automatically must and should stand with Hamas terrorists. And this is the rhetoric coming from Western dilettantes who would rather see Hamas finish the job because they're so morally superior. They think that Israel, the Jews, and with that, America deserves to be conquered in the name of restorative justice.
I'm surprised. It almost feels like a repeat of the 1930s and 40s. And we've seen since 1948 in the inception of the State of Israel, where the British really were moved out of the territory, and with the League of Nations becoming the United Nations, ending up saying, well, this is the Jews should have their homeland once again. It's rather common sense considering what has taken place in Europe and throughout even the Western and Eastern worlds during that time. But we still seem to have this anti-Semitic thought that is out there. You had the opportunity in 2014, I believe, to go visit some of these areas, especially in northern Israel. Can you speak to that? Because my mayor in Sandy Springs, Georgia, the great Rusty Paul, taking a bipartisan group over there of 13 mayors, and they were stunned to see what Western media did not cover, especially in these agricultural areas when Hezbollah decided to get in the fight via Lebanon and invade from the north. And thank God they did not do that the day of October 7th of 2023, because as bad as it was, I believe it would have been much, much worse. But you uncovered some of the gruesome footage and what took place in northern Israel.
Certainly. It actually was southern Israel at Kibbutz Kfar Aza. It was 3 months after October 7th, so it was that December. And this kibbutz, we saw multiple people. Multiple people were murdered that day on October 7th. And specifically, I went into the home of a young 23-year-old couple. They were just 2 years younger than me. And they were just having breakfast that morning, not knowing their fate just moments later. And I still saw their breakfast lying on the kitchen counter. You had bullet holes in their home. You had, we were told their bodies were thrown on, they were butchered, their bodies were just thrown on the couch. And we still saw blood stains. We still saw the carnage even 3 months later. And then to go back home, I was working in New York at the time, to go back home, to walk back to my office off the subway and see 23-year-olds, the same age as the people who were murdered that day, cheering on the most atrocious crimes that happened to them. I couldn't go home from work sometimes, couldn't walk back to the subway without being surrounded by that mass mob that they, for 2 years, every day since October 7th, almost every day since October 7th, they've been marching out in the street and calling for more Jewish blood, and with that, more American blood.
So disturbing that that's happened. And for years and years, really since the end of World War II, we've had these issues coming from the Palestinian Liberation Authority and organization under Yasser Arafat, and then now under Hamas. I mean, these people were an elected wing roughly 20 years ago, but as you said, they are a terrorist organization, and it is time for them to lay down their arms. We have a lockdown here at home in a different way coming from Democrats and Chuck Schumer in New York City. It seems as if these Democrats becoming more and more of a regional party and kowtowing to their radical left Marxism of AOC and the Squad and other people who truly are very, the anti-Semitic rhetoric that happens in Congress sometimes, let alone our college campuses, is so perplexing to watch. But this individual, it's been proven that he wanted to fund illegal aliens here, along with Hakeem Jeffries in the House. So what do you think are some of the next steps to potentially reopen the federal government?
Well, they need to agree to stop funding illegals. But of course, we've noticed how the media spins this. They keep blaming Republicans for the Democrats refusing to come to an agreement here. And part of this has to do with the way they're spinning it in regards to health care as well. They're complaining because the Republicans don't want to continue a Biden-era bill during COVID that would allow people who were making more money, much more money, 400% more of an income than meets the poverty line. That bill would continue providing them with Obamacare, taxpayer-sponsored Obamacare. And the Democrats, the way that Jimmy Kimmel phrased it, he also called us the KKK for, as he does all the time. And then the way Jon Stewart phrased it was that, Republicans just simply want the Democrats to die because we don't want to fund free healthcare. Meanwhile, they're calling for our blood. They're killing our leaders. And you had this Democrat candidate in Virginia actually saying that he wants to kill children. So it's just the peak projection coming from them. Everything is violence, according to the left and according to the media, because we don't want to fund their free health care and there's still a government shutdown. We're actually being painted here as violent because we don't want our taxpayer money just being wasted when they're the ones actually calling for violence.
Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals on clear display. And speaking of that, I was actually doing some research, Justine, on the 7 other times that the presidents have used National Guard to move in on different situations, ranging from the Civil War to the Rodney King riots of 1992, and down here in Alabama, the Selma March to Montgomery leading to Bloody Sunday, when certain Democrat leaders refused to protect their own residents and American citizens, something that's happening again in Chicago, Illinois, to Portland, Oregon, all the way to Los Angeles, California. I'd like your take on the National Guard federalization, because they are outside of they're in Elwood right now, outside of Chicago, stationed and ready to help DHS and ICE, some of the Texas National Guard that Greg Abbott, the governor down there from the Lone Star State, assisting with that, but to these comedy shows as well. Saw Governor Newsom on Colbert saying that he wants these ICE agents to be unmasked and to hand over an ID when they arrest these foreign terrorist organizers and paid agitators. And I thought, oh, that sounds really familiar. Oh, wait a second. You wanted to mask people for COVID. You wanted 6 feet apart. Oh, and you live in a state that does not have voter ID. So the height of hypocrisy coming from the Democrat Party is extraordinary at this point.
They want a narco tyranny. The reason they don't want ICE agents masked is because they think it's okay if an ICE agent gets physically attacked. And we just saw like a week or two ago, right after Charlie Kirk's murder, them try to go after an ICE facility and inadvertently shooting migrants, the people they claimed to support, when they were trying to kill ICE agents. So this, once again, it also speaks to their hypocrisy, because I remember, and they're still doing this. These rioters, these mostly peaceful young jihadists marching for death in our city streets, they always claim that they're wearing masks when they commit crimes. They're wearing masks when they break into buildings and college campuses and beat people up, because they're just so afraid they're going to get caught by the police and they're going to get thrown in jail and people are going to come after them for physically assaulting others. Oh, but ICE agents they're not allowed to rightfully do their job abiding by the law and getting violent illegal aliens out of this country. The left and their media, they want lawlessness. My friend Nick Sorter, he went to Portland over the past week to cover Antifa violence. And what happened on camera, the cops gleefully, the Portland cops gleefully went after Nick because he was defending himself. He was trying to stop an American flag from being burnt. The rioter set it on fire. They tried to physically assault him. And when he tried to stop him, they went after him. And they're proud to do so. You have the mayor of Chicago proudly saying things like, criminals should be let off the hook. They have the right to commit crimes. So of course it would only make sense for the president to say, no, we have to put our foot down. I mean, what our Democrat, state and local Democrat leaders are doing, it's illegal because they're fostering a narco tyranny, and we need to go by the law in this country.
Amen. I could not say it better. Justine Brooke Murray of the Media Research Center, thank you for joining us today. Stay safe out there. I know that many of us journalists, the ones who want to get the truth out there, being hurt in Portland. So for Nick, we hope he recovers well. I know Katie Daviscourt as well, taking a black eye to get the truth out there, and you're fighting hard as well at Media Research Center. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you as always.